So hello, I am Molly Means. I'm a professional learning specialist here with IXL. I came to IXL after 14 years in education, started in kindergarten, worked through most of the elementary area, most of the elementary levels. My final role was as a K-8 instructional coach and assistant principal. I have used IXL in my classroom. I've coached teachers that used IXL, and now I come into schools both in person and virtually to support you in your use of IXL. And today I'm actually here supporting your district person, Amy. You may have seen her before. She's led some other sessions. So I'm supporting Amy today by leading your session. And at the end, I'll share Amy's contact information. Amy is your dedicated district person to give you support with anything professional development, curriculum, anything in the use of IXL. So you'll get her contact information at the end. To get us started, what is IXL? IXL is an end-to-end teaching and learning solution. It includes a comprehensive pre-K through 12th grade curriculum with personalized guidance, instructional resources and classroom engagement tools, a first-of-its-kind assessment suite, and actionable analytics for your district, your school, your classroom, and your individual learners. So tons of data at every level. Additionally, we offer district partnership, professional learning, and implementation services. So as I mentioned, you have that district partnership with Amy. All of these aspects are integrated into our single platform, and each component is designed to work together seamlessly to give you the tools and insights you need to truly maximize learning for every single student. Over the years, IXL has grown to incorporate all of these different educational platforms. So IXL Learning includes Rosetta Stone, Teachers Pay Teachers, education.com. Today, we are focusing on IXL.com. But if you do have any questions about any of these platforms, I'm happy to answer those either at the end of the session, or you can reach out to me or Amy via email. Here's our agenda for today. And today I'm going to show you how IXL gives you everything you need to start making a bigger impact on learning. We're going to start by looking at IXL skills. We'll explore how those skills are crafted to support student-targeted learning. And then I'll show you a few of IXL's instructional resources that build student confidence. After that, we're going to look at how these skills can be used within your daily instruction. We'll explore strategies for planning your lesson, finding the skills that match what you're teaching, delivering your lesson, assigning those skills to the students, and monitoring student progress as they're working. Then we'll shift a little bit and take a look at the real-time diagnostic. I'll show you how this tool can be used to personalize learning for your students. And finally, we'll take a look at our mobile apps and where you can find additional resources to support your IXL implementation. During the session today, I do encourage you to sign in and follow along in your teacher accounts. You sign in through Clever, it should pop you right in. We aren't going to get into the teacher accounts for a little bit, so you are going to be able to see both the teacher and student account here on my screen. So you're welcome if you prefer to just follow along with me, or you can go in and follow along as we go through the site. As we move through the session, I'll check in after every few slides, see if anybody has any questions. You'll also see that we do have a chat box here with Zoom. So as we're moving through, if a question pops in your mind, feel free to put that in the chat box, or when I pause, you can come off mute and ask that verbally if you prefer. I'm going to go ahead and turn off my video so that you can really focus on the information here on the screen as we move through the session. So to get us started, let's make sure that you're familiar with the basics of where to find everything on IXL. So here's our teacher account. And when you sign into IXL, you land here on your dashboard. And the dashboard is located in the My IXL tab. Anything that you need is going to be in one of these tabs up here in this green bar. Here in My IXL, you can find your roster, engagement tools, and some additional resources. The Learning tab is where you access IXL's comprehensive curriculum and instructional resources. So this includes our skills, some videos, lessons, and more. The assessment tab is where you and your students will access IXL's real-time diagnostic. And the analytics tab provides you with access to your analytics reports. So you can see what students have been doing on IXL and how they're doing within those skills. If you also teach math in addition to ELA, you'll see this takeoff tab. This is IXL's new comprehensive math curriculum. We're not going to be focusing on that today since this is an ELA specific session, but if you do see that, feel free to explore that. So now let's take a look at this from the student perspective. Just like teachers, when students sign in, they land here on their dashboard, and you'll notice that their account looks very similar to the teacher account. That is done on purpose. We want you to be able to model things from your account so that students can see exactly what it's going to look like within their account. And here you see that you have the same tabs up here at the top. My IXL leads students back here to their dashboard. Learning looks exactly like it does for you. The assessment, again, that's going to take students into that real-time diagnostic. And they even have their own analytics here so that they can look at the data from their work in IXL and learn more about themselves. Here at the dashboard, let's just take a second to see what students get right when they sign in. Right away, they're going to be able to access anything that you've assigned to them and get into that meaningful work here in the From Your Teacher tab. They also have access to some personalized recommendations right here, or they could jump back into any recent skills in the Recent Skills tab. Down here at the bottom, they have access to some high-level data about their work on IXL, as well as being able to easily access any awards that they've earned through their work here on IXL. One last thing I want to show, if students hover over their icon right here, they can choose different themed backgrounds for their dashboard. So they have the opportunity to make it a little personalized. Now that you're familiar with where to find things on IXL, let's start by taking a look at IXL's skills, which are really the core of the platform. Imagine if someone took everything students learn in grades pre-K through 12 and broke it down into a path with every little step along the way with no gaps. At IXL, we've done just that with over 10,000 skills. We've also analyzed and mapped out how each skill connects to, supports, and builds on other skills. This comprehensive curriculum map, combined with our sophisticated technology, is an incredible resource for educators, and it can really make a difference in unexpected ways. We're going to go ahead and look at this from the student perspective. Our comprehensive curriculum covers pre-K through 12th grade math and ELA, and kindergarten through 8th grade science and social studies, and we also have a Spanish 1 curriculum. And we've built this extensive content library to ensure that wherever a student is in their personal learning journey, we have the right skills to support them and guide them toward mastery at their own pace. So, what is a skill? We take a larger concept and we break it down into small building blocks, and these are the skills. They're very targeted, and they allow students to build mastery of a concept one step at a time. Our skills are also designed to be truly adaptive. So every step of the way, IXL adjusts to each learner. So they're supported, challenged, and motivated at the right level for them. And this is what keeps them engaged and inspires them to keep working. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into one of these skills here. We're going to look at this one right here. So here we are, we're in our skill. This is a 2nd grade phonics skill. Students might get here because you assign this skill for them to work. IXL may recommend it to them, or they may just choose it on their own. And we're going to get into all of that later. But for now, just watch my screen and I'm going to demonstrate everything you need to see. The first thing that you want to note is that you see we have some audio support here. This audio support is available for any skill 2nd grade or below automatically. And you also are able to extend that through 8th grade skills. I'll show you a little bit later on in your profile and settings how to do that. And that is going to just have it available in case students need that support.
Which word matches the picture? Goat.
So students jump right in. They're right away going to be told whether they got that correct or incorrect. Over here, it's keeping track of the number of questions answered, time spent within the skill, as well as that SMART score, which is going to change with every answer. And I mentioned that these skills are adaptive. So as a student is moving through, you're going to notice that it's going to change the way it's asking the questions when they're ready for something a little bit more difficult. So it may add another answer choice. It may change the way students are asked to interact with the skill, but it's going to adapt to show what they're ready for and give them a little bit of a challenge. So let's take a look and see what happens if we get something incorrect. Right away, it's going to let us know it's incorrect and show us that correct answer. Reminds the students how they answered. Sometimes it will give them some essential information here. So for example, here are some rules. It may give definitions, something that's essential for students to be successful within that skill. And then it's going to show them exactly how to solve that specific problem that they just got incorrect. Then they come back and they have the opportunity to continue working within that skill and continuing to grow that SMART score. Students receive ribbons to mark their achievement when they reach a SMART score of 70, 80, and 90, and a medal when they reach 100. On IXL, we consider a SMART score of 80 to be proficiency, 90 to be excellence, and 100 to be mastery. The SMART score is an advanced algorithm. It's unique to IXL, and it measures students' true understanding of a concept while providing real-time support to make that learning stick. Although the SMART score goes from 0 to 100, it's not a percentage. Unlike a typical scoring system that simply shows a student answered 8 of 10 questions correctly, the SMART score is dynamic. It takes a growth mindset approach, letting students know that a score of 100, which indicates mastery, is always within reach, even if they struggled initially. The SMART score recognizes where learners are in their understanding and adapts to offer them a just right level of difficulty. Learning in this way to power through setbacks, not only do they cement their knowledge, they also build the necessary grit and determination to keep at it. Because it is intentionally designed this way, the SMART score enables students to make greater learning gains. Research shows that when students persevere through temporary SMART score setbacks, meaning they experience their score going up and down within a skill, they ultimately achieve greater academic gains than if they would have had a steady upward trajectory. This is known as productive struggle. Instead of forgetting what they learned once that moment has passed, students actually lock in their knowledge gains. With IXL, students experience the unique, magical feeling of earned success. And the pride and momentum that come from working through a setback also drive students' motivation to keep learning. So, how can you use the SMART score to motivate learning that sticks with your students? It's all about setting goals and communicating those expectations. On IXL, we consider a SMART score of 80 to be proficiency, 90 to be excellence, and 100 to be mastery. A SMART score of 100 means the student truly has mastered the material, and mastery is a very high standard, and it's challenging to achieve. So a SMART score of 100 is not necessarily an appropriate goal to set for students. You can kind of think of that as an A+. And we've seen in study after study that reaching a SMART score of 80, that proficiency level, positively impacts students' performance on state assessments. And we saw that reaching proficiency in at least 2 skills per week has the greatest impact on those gains. Most teachers set a SMART score goal of 80. You could also consider setting a lower goal when students first start to learn a concept and then challenging them to grow from there by the end of the unit. And once students hit that SMART score of 80, it's up to you and them to decide what makes sense for them. Does it make sense, or do they feel motivated to push forward and work towards excellence or mastery? Or does it make better sense for that student to go to a different skill and begin building their capacity within that skill? When you set meaningful goals for your students, and when I say set goals, all I mean is you're letting them know we're working towards 80 here in your SMART score. So when you get to 80, or when you earn that blue ribbon, you've met your goal for this skill. So by letting students know that's the expectation, that's what they need to work toward, you're really encouraging them to strive toward that proficiency level or even work toward mastery instead of bouncing from skill to skill. And that's when students are really going to gain a foundation that stays with them and that they're able to build upon. I'm going to pause there for just a second. Does anyone have any questions about the SMART score or the basic skill practice that we've looked at so far? Again, feel free to either type that in the chat box, or if you prefer, you're welcome to come off mute and ask your question verbally. Great question. So there's a question in the chat. So when they reach 80 in their SMART score, they just exit the skill. Yes, it's really up to you what you would like them to do. So you can set that expectation. Once you get to 80, you can go find a different skill, or here's the second skill I want you to go into. They could go to their personalized recommendations, choose something from here. There are a lot of different options of what they could do after that. They may even choose to push themselves and work towards either proficiency or, towards excellence or mastery. But letting them know that the expectation is they get to at least that 80. And then you can give them a couple options of what they would do once they reach the 80. Any other questions? Great. So now that we're familiar with the basics of those IXL skills, I want to show you a few of the instructional resources available for students and teachers. So we're going to come into a different skill here in the student account. This is now an 8th grade skill on using personification. Good question here. The question is, do the badges or stickers they get mean mastery? So with let me come back here. There are a couple different things that could mean. So if I come back, they are going to earn ribbons as they move through. So if you see a red ribbon, that means they've reached 70, blue means 80, green is 90, and then this medal means that they've reached mastery within that skill. There are also awards that they earn, and we'll look at those a little bit later on, but the awards can actually be earned for a variety of things. Questions answered, skills proficient, excellence or mastered, time spent. So there's kind of a couple different things that they can earn. The ribbons and mastery and medals, like you see here, are always going to be attached to that SMART score. The awards sometimes are related to the SMART score, sometimes are related to other things. And I'll show you where you can see that in just a little bit. So let's hop back here. We're going to look at those instructional resources. So here in this personification skill, the first thing I want to point out is learn with an example. Anytime a student comes into an ELA skill, they have the option to learn with an example here. It's just going to walk them through a sample question, give any necessary information, definitions, etc., and then give them a step-by-step example of how to solve that particular problem, explain why that's the answer. This is here so that if students get to this first question, they're not quite sure how to tackle it, they have that example to look at to build their confidence. I've also seen a lot of teachers use this in their instruction. They'll teach their lesson, then they'll come on IXL, project it, walk through that example with students before releasing them to practice on their own. We also have the video tutorials. These video tutorials are available for pre-K through 3rd grade reading foundations and phonics skills. So all of the phonics and reading foundation skills have a video. They're also available for 6th through 8th grade writing. And we're also working to expand those videos to additional grade levels and topics. If students click in, it opens up this short little video, usually 3 to 6 minutes long. These are just teaching the student about the particular skill that they're attached to. So we're going to take a second and watch a little video so you can see what some of these tutorials are like.
Usually, when a vowel comes before a consonant, the vowel makes a short vowel sound. The short O sound is ah. When I say the ah sound, my jaw drops low and my mouth is open wide. Ah. Listen for the short O sound in the word mop. Ah. Mop. Ot. Pot. Ox. Fox. Ot makes the word pot. Ot. Pot. We found the word that matches the picture.
Hi! Some words come up a lot when you read. Let's learn them well so you can read them quickly. Today, we are going to learn 5 of these words: on, green, please, they, are. This is the word they. They are talking. Look at the letters in this word. The word starts with the letters TH. Together, these letters make the th sound. The letters EY make the A sound in this word. Th, A. When you blend those sounds together, you get the word they.
Let's learn how to use personification in our writing. Personification is giving human characteristics or feelings to non-human things. For example, the lightning danced across the sky. Notice the verb danced. Lightning can't really dance, right? Only people dance. But when lightning pops and spreads through the sky, the movement can be described as a dance. Which option completes the sentence so that it uses personification? On a brisk October evening, Theo's campfire instantly burns up the firewood. Or, on a brisk October evening, Theo's campfire instantly devours the firewood. So we're looking for the option that gives human characteristics or feelings to a non-living thing, in this case, a campfire. A campfire can burn up firewood, but a campfire can't actually devour firewood. A person would devour food if they were really hungry. So devours is the correct choice.
A fact is a statement that can be proven through research or observation. An opinion expresses a personal feeling, belief, or idea. Today we'll practice deciding whether a sentence states a fact or expresses an opinion. Which of these sentences is a fact about the giant anteater? The diet of a giant anteater is disgusting. Or, the giant anteater can eat hundreds of ants and termites at a time. People have different beliefs about what's disgusting and what isn't, so this isn't something that can be proven through research or observation. But you can watch an anteater eat hundreds of ants and termites at a time. So the second sentence is a fact.
These tutorial videos are available anytime throughout the skill. So even as a skill begins to get a little more complicated, students can go and get that support from the video. They're especially helpful if students are working on a skill away from their teacher, either at home or in a study hall, and they don't have support right there. Or maybe even a family member doesn't quite know how to support them in that particular skill. They can watch those videos even together with their family member and then feel more equipped to move through that skill. If you ever want to see all of the videos available, you can come to the videos page right here in that tab, and it's going to have them all listed by grade level so you know what's available for your particular grade. We saw earlier that example of the detailed explanation if students get something incorrect. That's going to be available for every skill. Here's another example. It always starts with that correct answer, shows them how they answered, gives that important information, and then gives that specific answer for the question they just missed. We also have a scratch pad right here. This allows students to annotate. If they have a text-based question, they can use that highlighter. There is a pencil if they need to take notes, and again, an eraser, of course. And just click it again, and that moves away. So that's just for students as they go through to help them be successful if that's a tool that's going to be beneficial for them. Are there any questions about any of these instructional resources? Okay. Now, IXL's carefully crafted skills are a powerful tool that you can use during every step of your lesson. Now that you know about IXL skills, let's take a look at how you can build those into your daily instruction. We're going to walk through 3 simple steps: planning your lesson, delivering your lesson, and monitoring student progress. So, of course, we're going to start with planning our lesson. And to get started, you simply need to find an IXL skill that's going to support your lesson. And on IXL, you have access to thousands of skills to support any lesson or standard. And we've organized our skills in several ways that make it easy for you to find just the right skill you're looking for to support your learning objective and fit IXL into your daily routine. We're going to start looking at things from a teacher perspective now. So if you're signed into your own teacher account, you can go ahead and click on Learning. And that's going to take us here into these grade level pages. Each of the grade level pages is filled with skills for practicing very specific topics for that grade. So you want to make sure that you're in the language arts section. You can adjust that right up here at the top. And then you go down and click into your grade level. Now you can see that we have hundreds of skills per grade level here. You don't need to expect your students to do all of these skills. These are here so that you can find the skill that best supports what your students need to practice. And to help with that, you can go ahead and hover over any skill, and it's going to show you what the questions look like, cycle through a couple different examples so that you can see how that skill progresses as students move through. This just lets you know, is this what you're looking for? So you don't have to do a lot of clicking back and forth. So the grade level page here is a great place to start finding skills for students at that particular grade level. But I want to show you my favorite way of finding skills. If we come back to the Learning tab, you want to click on Skill Plans. Skill plans make it simple to find the exact skills that match your state standards, your textbook chapters, and high stakes tests. In these skill plans, our curriculum team has mapped out your current instructional resources and custom built IXL skills to precisely match each topic that you'll cover. IXL has created 4 different types of skills. And today I want to highlight just a few of them for you. And we're going to start with our TEKS. So here you can see we have Texas aligned standards. IXL is aligned to standards from all 50 states. And these skill plans unpack every standard into targeted skills. And these skills were custom built to directly align to the TEKS. So you know exactly which skills are going to support your lesson. To find what you're looking for, you're going to come to Language Arts and click into your grade level. So I'm just clicking into 10th grade here, English 2. You can see the different strands up here. So if you need to hop to one, you can use that to hop down to where you need to go. We can see that we have the larger TEK up here. It's broken down on the left. And then here are those aligned skills. So if you know that your students have a gap in a particular TEK, You can find that and use those skills to assign for extra practice. Or if you know that your lesson is aligned to a particular TEK, you can use this to quickly find a skill that's going to be appropriate for your lesson. Then you could use that skill as independent practice in class, homework, extra practice, or even I've heard a lot of people use it as a do now to review what they did previously and get students ready to jump right into class. So we have our TEKs here. Is there a question? Okay, so we have the TEKs. That's a great one to check out. If we come back up here to Spotlight, I do want to highlight two for you since we are focusing on ELA today. We have two really helpful Spotlight skills plans that have been created by our curriculum team. The first is going to be for my lower elementary people. This is our Learn to Read skill plan. You can see that it's available for pre-K through 3rd grade. Come in right here in the middle in 1st grade. And this is going to walk students through that trajectory of learning to read from a non-reader in pre-K all the way up to a fairly fluent reader in that 3rd grade area. And you'll see it gives 1 skill a day. So it's really easy to integrate this into what you're doing. They have attached videos. If you see that little icon right there, you're going to see that it has an attached video. So they can go in, it's going to play that video for them, and then they go and practice that particular skill. So this is something that you could integrate into your centers time or into homework. And it's a very strategic path from non-reader to reader. There's a good question in the chat asking, is there a time to set a time interval for that skill to show up? Unfortunately, there isn't a way yet to set any type of timing either for when to assign or how long it's going to be on there. But I will show you a little later on where you can find all those assigned skills so that you can easily go back and unclick any of the skills that you don't want to be assigned. So I'll show you that a little bit later on. So that Learn to Read skill plan is definitely worth checking out for my early elementary people. For my higher level people or my special education teachers, we have a similar plan for our older students, and that's our reading intervention plan here. Here it's available in level 1, 2, and 3. Similar to the Learn to Read, it does take readers from non-reading up into those higher levels, but these are designed to be used by those older students. And we can see it's going to offer, again, 1 skill per day. And right up here at the top, it's going to tell you which skills happen in each level. So all you need to do is read that little blurb there, and you can decide what best fits your particular student, level 1, 2, or 3. The next skill plan I want to show you, if we go all the way down to the bottom, we're going to look at the test prep skill plans. You have a ton of Texas-specific skill plans here to support any assessment that you are preparing for. We have a STAR-specific. So if I can come in, we'll look at 5th grade reading. Here you can see it's divided by section, and it's going to show you the skills. They're going to help students prepare to be successful on the STAR. We also have TELPAS, TSIA2, all kinds of different assessments that students can prepare for right down here. If you find a skill plan that you think is going to be particularly helpful, so let's say that I am a 8th grade ELA teacher, you can click this little push pin right next to the grade level on any skill plan, and that's going to save it up here to the top. This also makes it available for your students on the top of their skill plans page. So if you ever want students to go in and work on a full skill plan, that's how you can get that in front of them fairly easily. So I want to give you a second to explore the skill plans and pin at least one. So again, you're going to pin it just by clicking the little push pin next to your grade level. That'll turn it gold, and then it'll be up here at the top. So take 2 minutes to explore, pin a skill plan, and once you've pinned the skill plan, tell me in the chat which one you've pinned. So take 2 minutes to explore. Okay, thank you for sharing in the chat what you pinned. We're going to go ahead and keep moving. So now that you have found a skill, you know what you want students to work on, how do we get that skill in front of students? You have a couple of options here. I'm going to go into my TEAC skill plan. You can do this from anywhere that you find skills. And let's say that I want my students to work on this analyze short stories skill. My first option to get that to students is to just click that gray star and turn it gold. When I do that, I have just suggested or assigned this particular skill to everyone on my roster. Now, I may want to be a little bit more specific. I may not need to assign it to everyone. So you also can hover over the star, come down and assign it to just a specific class, or go in and assign it to those specific students. And if you ever have one that you've assigned or it was a mistake, you didn't mean to do that, just click it again. That'll turn it back to gray and it gets removed. From the student perspective, here we are on our My IXL tab. From your teacher, there's that skill I just assigned. So as soon as students sign in, they're going to see that. They click it and it can take them in to begin practicing. So that's your first option, is clicking on the star. Your second option, if I go into a skill, right above questions answered, you'll see the share skill button. That first circle allows you to copy the link. All of our skills have unique URLs, so you can share this link to a website, in an email, or even create a QR code so that students can quickly get to the particular skill you'd like them to work on. The next circle, that dark green circle, allows you to share to Google Classroom. So if you have systems set up already around Google Classroom, all you need to do is use this, assign it as an assignment, and you can easily integrate IXL into that system that you've already established with your students. So we have the star, we have the share skill button. The third option are these 3 gray characters right here. That is the permanent skill ID. It's basically a secret code for the skill. It's always going to stay the same. So if you create instructional materials using these codes, you can use that year after year. It's never going to change. And if students know that code, they just type it in down here in the search bar, and it's going to take them directly to that skill that's attached to that code. Really, these 3 options are fairly interchangeable. You can use them however you like. We like to provide options because we know that we're all different, our teaching style is different, and our students are different. So there's different ways that you can integrate that in. Personally, I like to use the star suggested skill feature for any type of spiral review or any practice that wasn't necessarily time bound. And students knew that they should work off of those from your teacher's skills during their independent practice time, during centers time. If I was having a student use or having the class practice a skill during my lesson, I usually would just use that permanent skill ID and either put it in my slide deck or write it on the whiteboard. Again, that's just personally what worked well for me. It's really up to you to find the way or the combination of ways that work for your students. Any questions about assigning skills? Yep, I see that someone's mentioning the Spanish support in the chat. We're going to look at that a little bit later on in the profile and settings section. I'll show you how to do that. Yep, we're going to look at the Spanish in just a few minutes. Okay. So far today, we've looked at how you can use IXL skills for independent practice, but you also can use them as a key part of your direct instruction. IXL group jams are a fun way to engage your entire class. You can use it to check for understanding, practice as a group, or create a friendly in-class competition. Teachers start a group jam right here from the skill practice page. So we're here in a 12th grade skill. And you're always going to see that button down here in teacher tools to start the group jam. You can do a group jam for whole group, or you can do it with a small group. So if you want to do it with a specific class, you would just click up here, or you can choose just the specific names of those students in your small group. Once you start it, students will see this banner pop up, and all they need to do is click that button to join the jam. And what's different about IXL's group jams is that all of the students and the teacher are going to see the same question at the same time. So I could have us all have a group discussion and we could solve it together and then put in the answer on our own computer. Or you could have students try it on their own and then review together. Students jump right in and put their answer in. You get feedback. You can read through that explanation. But notice I don't have that button to go on to the next question. That's because in a group jam, this is a teacher-led experience. This is that guided practice. So the teacher is going to have that control. So if I come back to the teacher account, you'll see I'm getting some real-time data here. As students answer, you can hover over their icon in this top box, see who that is, and see how they answered. Then when you notice most everyone has answered, you'll click Move to Review. And now everyone's here on the explanation. If I noticed a trend in incorrect answers, I could address that here, or I could use this as an opportunity to model the thinking that I want students to do when they get to these explanations during independent practice. Think about what questions should I be asking myself? What information should I be paying attention to? Then I want to use my data to make a decision. Are my students ready for something at the same level? This particular skill only has one level, so we're just going to continue practicing these questions. But in other skills, it may have a slightly harder level, so they could progress through those levels of difficulty through the group jam. When students are ready, when you feel like they're ready for that independent practice, you'll just click End Jam, and that's going to release the students into that specific skill so that they can begin practicing and building their SMART score within that skill. That's going to solidify that learning for them. For my elementary people, I used a group jam pretty much anytime I wanted my students to work on a skill within class. It definitely helps make sure that they're comfortable and capable within the content that the skill is covering, but it also is ensuring that they know how to show what they know. Sometimes they have to use a drop down. Sometimes they have to drag and drop, type something in. Like, it lets them figure out the mechanics of that skill as well as the content in that safe space where we're doing it together before they're released to practice on their own. And then when they're released, takes them right where they need to be. You don't need to worry about them navigating anywhere else. Any questions about the group jam? When the group jam ends, you're going to be able to see this group jam summary that's going to give you data on the student's work. So if you're using it as an exit ticket, right here, you've got all their scores, and it's also going to highlight for you any of the questions that the students struggled with, so you can go back and address that if necessary. Now, I also want to show you a few specific things. We talked earlier about the awards. Students are earning awards through their hard work all the time as they're working on IXL, and they can access their awards either here in the Learning tab or directly from their dashboard right down here. The Language Arts Awards have a specific theme for each grade level. So here at 5th grade, the theme is stacking nesting dolls. So I can come in, notice this first one is because I answered 50 ELA questions. I've earned my little lion. If I scroll down, I earned some here because I've mastered a skill. There's a lot of different ways they can, there's a ton here. A lot of different ways they can earn it. It's fun to see all the different things that they earn. And if I hover over it, I can actually make these my icon. So that's going to change what you see right up here during group jams and things like this. Just fun little way to get students excited and acknowledge all of the hard work that they do. I also want to show you a few ways that you can customize the account for your students. If you come up to the mountain in your teacher account and click into Profile and Settings, it always takes a little while to open. There's a lot of info in there, so just give it a second. So here, there are a couple ways you can customize your account for your students. I'm going to actually start down here at the bottom. So within IXL, we do have some educational math and ELA games. Those are available in that learning tab. Definitely recommend checking them out. We have over 100 math and ELA games for pre-K through 5th grade. They're great, fun to integrate into class time, but if they ever do become a distraction, you can hide those games here. And for all of these settings, you have the option to hide it for everyone, a specific class, or specific students. A lot of schools will hide the games Monday through Thursday, then take that off on Friday so that students can use that for Fun Friday. You also have the option to hide the scratch pad if you have a little doodler that's getting distracted. Instead of using that to show their work, just hide it. That removes that temptation. Here's where we're going to get that Spanish language support. However, Spanish language support right now in IXL is specific to math skills in grades pre-K through geometry. So this is only going to adjust their skills in math. What it does is it creates a button for the student. It's going to present them with the question in English, and then if they push the button, it would do that translation into Spanish. But right now, that's only available for math. Here's earlier, we saw those blue speakers for the audio support. This is where we extend that audio support. So again, it automatically is going to be there for 2nd grade and below. But if you would like to extend that audio support, maybe you have a student with an IEP who needs read aloud, something like that, you can extend it for that student here. And it's going to give that audio support for any skill 8th grade or below. The last one I want to highlight here is the ability to hide grade levels. Let's say that you have a student, let's say a 9th grade student, that's going to benefit from some 6th grade practice. That student might feel a certain way if 6th grade skills started showing up on their From the Teacher section. To avoid that, you can hide the grade level. And then instead of being labeled as 6th grade, the skill is just going to be labeled as level H. It takes a little bit of the feelings out of it. It just has those letter levels instead of the grade level. And this correlation chart here is linked right below this so that you can always look back and see what grade level they're working on. Any questions about the awards or the profile and settings here? As students work in IXL, you're going to have many different ways to monitor their progress. Today, we are going to focus on a report that allows you to monitor and support students in the moment. And to get there, we're going to start on your dashboard. To get back to your dashboard, you just click the My IXL tab. It'll take you right back there. And here at the top, you can see information about your students' recent practice on IXL. So that includes the number of questions answered, time spent at home or at school, as well as skills proficient and mastered. A little further down, we can see some top teaching tools. If you pin skill plans, they're going to be easily accessible right here. If you ever need to go back and look at group jam data from a group jam that you did, maybe you're using it as an exit ticket, just click right here. It'll take you to that group jam summary. And then right here is where you're going to find all of those suggested skills. So earlier, someone was asking about putting a time limit on when skills or how long skills were available in the From Your Teacher section. We don't currently have that feature, but you can come back here and see all of your skills in one place and just unselect them from here. And that's going to take that off of your students from the teacher page. So what I did is every Tuesday at the beginning of my planning time, I'd quickly come here and just do a little skill maintenance. I would unclick the things that needed unclicked, add anything that needed to be added. But now we're going to focus in right here where it says the number of students on IXL now. If I click that, that's going to take me into Live Classroom. And you can also find Live Classroom here in the My IXL tab. Live Classroom, we hear from teachers all the time that this is one of their absolute favorite things on IXL because it allows you to be everywhere at once when your students are working on IXL. And it alerts you as soon as a student needs your attention so you can provide help the moment that they need it. Now, since I only have one student working here in my account, it's kind of hard to see what this would look like with a full class. So I'm going to use a video to demonstrate some of the key features here in Live Classroom. So again, this is showing you in the moment what the student is doing. So their tile is going to appear in your Live Classroom as soon as they start working here on IXL. So we can see that right now, Amber is working on a 3rd grade subtraction skill, and this is her current SMART score. And you're going to see that SMART score change as she answers questions. And the dashes at the bottom of the tile indicate how they've done on the last few questions. Green being correct, red incorrect. You'll see that most of the tiles are white, but if you have turned red, that means that those students have missed at least 3 of the last 5 questions. So that's flagging for you. They're struggling a little. They may need some support. If you want to dig a little bit deeper, just click where it says the number of questions answered, and you're going to be able to see all of their recent questions. So as you look through there, you may notice a trend, and you can use this message feature to send a private message to that student. Give them a little reminder. Here, we're going to see that message pop up for Leo in the student account. And the student can use one of those 4 response buttons at the bottom to reply to the teacher. Now, back here in the teacher account, we want to refresh, and he got that question correct. So we're going to use that message feature again to send some positive feedback. Another feature within Live Classroom is that you're able to sort by skill. So if you've asked everyone to work on one skill, it's easy to see if someone like Quinn here has gotten a little lost, and you know that you can help them get where they need to be. So to help Quinn get to the right skill, you simply need to paste the link to that skill here in the message. Then when you send the message, it's going to become a clickable link, and she'll go right into that skill to get that correct practice. You also can send a message to everyone at once here by Student Activity Wall. So you could use this for whole group positive feedback, a time check, or even to send a link to everyone at once to quickly get them in working on that same skill. I really, really recommend that anytime students are working on IXL, that you have your Live Classroom open. Even if they're working in a center, you have a small group with you, just have the computer open, look at it through the corner of your eye. It just gives you an idea of where students are. Are they using their time effectively? Sometimes people might accidentally wander into a calculus skill, or like somebody mentioned earlier, they may get a suggestion for a social studies skill and decide to dabble with that. So it just lets you make sure that they're where you want them to be, working on the level that makes sense for them, and it flags you if somebody's going to need that support. Any questions about Live Classroom? Good question. Yes, there definitely is a report that shows the student SMART score for the skills you have assigned. I'm going to quickly show you that. It's actually not a part of the session, but I want to show you so that you can see that you're going to get a lot more information on the analytics in the follow-up session, the foundations too. But I do want to show you this so you have this as a tool in your toolbox. If you come to the score grid, this is in the analytics tab. You can adjust your subject, your grade, etc. And then to see the ones that you've assigned, you just want to click that little box, the currently suggested skills. And then it's going to show you the work that the students have done I'm going to unclick it for now since I don't have any, but you're going to be able to see here's the student's name, here's the skill, and you'll see their SMART score. So that's the quickest way to go in and see the scores for what you've currently suggested. Okay, now we're about to do a little shift here. We're going to move from talking about daily instruction into talking about the real-time diagnostic. But before we do that, I just want to take a second for you to think back on what we've talked about so far. So I would love for you to answer one of these two questions in the chat. Either type to tell me what is something that you're excited about that you've seen so far, or what is something that you anticipate using in your classroom. So we're going to take 2 minutes, type it into the chat. What is either something you're excited about that you've seen or something that you anticipate using in your classroom? Take 2 minutes and then feel free to read through and respond to any of your colleagues' answers as well. Thank you to those who shared it in the chat. Feel free to glance through your responses, your colleagues' responses. There's a lot of good stuff there. We're going to go ahead and now come into talking about our IXL's real-time diagnostic. Now, this is something that your students are going to be familiar with because they're already using this in math. But I wanted to present this to you so that you're familiar with it if you're interested in using it for ELA as well. So far today, I've shown you how you can find IXL skills and assign those to students, but IXL can also pinpoint gaps in knowledge and create a personalized action plan for each student to help them grow from where they are. IXL's real-time diagnostic is a game changer because it's not at all like what you think of as a typical assessment. Unlike other assessments, our diagnostic is equally useful for administrators and teachers. It's designed to support your everyday teaching. Traditional assessments can be time-consuming and they can feel scary or high stakes for some students. They do a good job measuring knowledge, but only at a single fixed point in time. And the results from these exams aren't actionable. You might understand what students know or don't know, but it takes work on your end to figure out how to help them. IXL's diagnostic is different. It is specifically designed to support instruction, to make delivering highly personalized, highly targeted instruction and intervention a more straightforward process. IXL's diagnostic works efficiently to capture insights on student knowledge, and it keeps those insights constantly updated, giving you information on your students that is always accurate. The information you get from the diagnostic is directly and immediately actionable. It's not just numbers. The real-time diagnostic generates a personalized action plan for each student, and that action plan has skills for each learner that they can work on to grow from where they are and to fill any knowledge gaps. And those are going to be completely different skills for each student on their action plan because it's based on their specific responses in the diagnostic. The diagnostic also offers a positive experience for students. The questions are engaging and it's a safe space for students to learn more about themselves. And you'll see that for yourself in just a minute. The diagnostic is equally useful for both administrators and teachers. Rather than just being a tool that only administrators have control over, as a teacher, you can use the insights and action plans to support your day-to-day instruction. Let's take a look at what students experience when they work in the diagnostic arena. If you've assigned the diagnostic to students, they can easily access it right here from their dashboard just by clicking Step into the Arena. Or if you haven't assigned it, don't worry, they can always click Assessment right here. Students are going to start with a choice of question. These are both at their rostered grade level, and we like to include choice as a part of the diagnostic experience because it lets the students take an active role in the process and keeps them motivated to continue answering questions. You'll notice that it's having the students start with math. Of course, you probably don't want them to do that. You want them to focus on language arts. So what you want to do is have students click right up here in the top right corner and choose just language arts. That's going to focus in those questions. Now, students are going to move through and you're going to see that it's very adaptive. It does start at their grade level, but it's going to quickly move them up or down based off of the answers and whether they're getting questions correct or incorrect. And now this is looking at the full kindergarten through 12th grade continuum. So they may end up either above grade level or below grade level with those questions. As students move through, they're going to get some positive feedback. Down here at the bottom, if they aren't quite sure how to answer something, they can use the I don't know this yet option. I see that question about how long it's going to take. We're going to get to that in just a second. So we're moving through. As students move through, it's narrowing down those levels. It's getting closer and closer to pinpointing those student levels. There's a lot of good questions coming in the chat. We are going to get to all of those in just a second. So as students move through, you can see it's quickly moving them up in terms of difficulty. So now let's take a look at this from the teacher perspective. But first, let's talk about the timing. We generally, it does vary for student because it is adaptive, but we generally recommend allocating around 60 minutes for the initial diagnostic when the first time they're pinpointing those levels. However, it's always going to save their progress. So that doesn't have to be solid 60 minutes in one sitting. If it works better for your schedule to do 10 minutes a day until they pinpoint their levels, that's totally fine because it's always going to save their progress. And you'll know students have finished their initial diagnostic when they get this on their screen. Once they finish that diagnostic, they're going to have access to that personalized action plan. And as a teacher, you're going to be able to see this all from your account as well. In the teacher account, to access those action plans, you'll click into the assessment tab and choose the student you'd like to look at here from the drop-down. So here you can see they have an overall language arts level and an overall reading level with 4 strand levels. Let me see if I can find somebody who's fully pinpointed. There we go. So you can see they have that pinpointed level. It's not a range. So for Sandeep here, he has an overall language arts level of 650. These levels correspond to grade levels. So if it was a 400, they're ready to start 4th grade language arts material. If it was a 730, they know 30% of the 7th grade material. So for Sandeep, he knows 50% of the 6th grade language arts material. He also has that overall reading level, so he's ready to start reading 7th grade material. And he has a level for each of those each of those language arts strands. And each strand also has recommended skills. These are the Just Right IXL skills identified through their work in the diagnostic that are either going to fill a knowledge gap or keep them moving and pushing them forward within that particular strand. Students also have access down here, and teachers, to a printable diagnostic action plan. So this takes all of the data from that previous page, puts it into a nice linear format on an interactive PDF. So this is something they could open up and work off of on their computer, or you can print off, have them check off, or even take home. It's taken a little while here. So here we go. So you can see it starts with math. We'll scooch down here to language arts, has their levels, and these are all clickable links that would take them right in to begin practicing those skills. Now, it is important to note that these are truly personalized. So you might have two students that both have an 830 in writing strategies, and they may have completely different recommendations. It's truly based off of their specific answers in the diagnostic. Now, after students have pinpointed their levels, you want to make sure to keep those levels up to date. This is going to ensure that the diagnostic is giving you up to the minute information on your students' knowledge every day, and it's going to keep those recommendations appropriate. And there are two things that students can do to keep their diagnostic up to date. First, students should return to the diagnostic arena for about 10 minutes each week. So they'll take their initial diagnostic, they'll get their action plan, and then each week you want to build into your schedule 10 minutes for them to go in and answer some additional questions in the diagnostic. What this does is it's checking in on those levels. Have they shown growth? Are they ready for different recommended skills? Or even has their level advanced in any of those strands or even overall? The second thing that students can do is to continue working on IXL skills, because any work they do in IXL skills, from homework, in class, from their action plan, all of that progress automatically incorporates into their diagnostic levels. So this is really giving you a full, meaningful portrait of the student's knowledge across the platform. So there was a question earlier about, is this a one-time test or do they take it monthly? It's actually neither. They start with their initial diagnostic. That's the one-time hour-long-ish assessment. And then they're going to revisit that assessment each week, each 2 weeks. It's okay if you stretch it. And that's going to keep it constantly up to date. So it never has to be that big chunk of time again. And they always have access to those recommended skills that are appropriate. And you always have access to that updated current data. You can assign the diagnostic to your students. Remember, that makes that easy access button on the dashboard. And the way you do that is by clicking the little star right here where it says keep your real-time diagnostic up to date. You just click that little star and that's going to make that button for your students on their dashboard. Are there any questions about the diagnostic that I haven't answered yet? I got a few there in the chat. I think I got all of those. One more feature I do want to introduce you to, because this is a feature that the math is using and that you may end up using in ELA, are our diagnostic snapshots. The diagnostic snapshot allows your administrator to select one or more specific times during the year to prompt students to take their diagnostic and capture those levels. The administrator sets up the snapshot window in their account, and you'll get updated to say, listen, that snapshot is going to go from this time to this time. And when the snapshot window is open, it'll pop up for the students, letting them know you have a snapshot available, and then they would go in and take their assessment. It looks very similar to what we just looked at in the real-time diagnostic. Basically, this is just a feature that administrators can use to capture that data at different times throughout the year so that they can use it as benchmark data and go back and compare and measure growth. Any questions about this snapshot? So far today, we've been looking at the web version of IXL, which works on any computer or laptop, but IXL is used almost as much on mobile devices. IXL offers a completely mobile-friendly site, so you can type IXL.com into any phone or tablet, and it's going to show you basically what we looked at today. But students can also choose to download our award-winning mobile app. The app is available for iPhones, iPads, Android phones and tablets, and Kindles. So this means that students can learn with IXL anytime, even if they don't have access to a computer. The IXL learning experience is especially engaging with our mobile apps. With an extensive library of skills to explore and handwriting recognition designed just for the apps, the IXL mobile app is a fun, immersive experience that students really enjoy. So we're going to watch a quick little video here so you can see what the app looks like on an iPad. For more information about how to implement IXL, whether your students are using computers or mobile devices, you can check out your teacher resources in the My IXL tab. I definitely recommend checking out printable resources here. There's a ton of stuff that's already been created. There's a parent handout, customizable certificates, trackers, bulletin board, props, etc. So definitely check that out. I also want to highlight our e-learning library. This is something that comes with your professional package and your professional learning package, and it is tons of short little videos about pretty much anything you might want to know about. So if you're interested in knowing about leaderboards, you can watch that little video. If you are a data-minded person, you would like to know a little bit more about those analytics reports before your next session, here's one on every single report. So you can really dive right in and quickly pick up some information about those different aspects of IXL. So again, that is the My IXL tab, resources, and e-learning library. As we come to the end of our time together, I do want to remind you that there are many ways to use IXL in your classroom beyond what we've looked at today. You got to see and experience many of the most important tools and features on IXL, but believe it or not, there's even more in IXL that we didn't cover. So as I mentioned, we didn't get a ton into those analytics reports. You're going to dive into that a little bit later on with Amy. You're going to see what reports are there, what's applicable to you, and how to use those reports to find insights to impact and help in the planning of the next days or next week's instruction. I see a question in the chat. Are we still recognizing certain schools or educators for their work with IXL? And we do that. If we look here on our resources page, come back to the main resources page, you can see we have our Elite 100 right here, and you can learn from those top 100 teachers. We also have case studies on schools that are really successfully using IXL. And we do also have IXL ambassadors that work with IXL to share information and be kind of our voice within schools. So if you're interested in being an ambassador, definitely let Amy know. I'm going to share her email address here in just a little bit, and she can share more information with you about that ambassador program. As you continue to use and explore IXL on your own, you're going to find a whole world of ways for using IXL. We're all probably going to use IXL a little bit differently, and that's okay. IXL is one platform with endless possibilities. We want you to find what works for you, try it out, see what works with your particular teaching style and with your students. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I do have a brief survey for you. I'll put it in the chat. I also have included Amy's contact information right here. It's amyh@ixl.com. If you have any questions or need additional information on anything, she's the great person to reach out to. She's a wealth of knowledge. Also, if anybody has any final questions, feel free to either come off mute or put those in the chat, and I'm happy to answer those final questions now.
I do have some questions. We have some of our support staff here, and they're not able to log in through Clever. Can they self-register?
If you talk to anyone with an admin account, they should be able to, they can go into their admin account and add a teacher account for them right there within their admin account.
So they have to be added. They can't self-register?
Yes. They can't
Okay.
self-register to like they could go in and create a demo account, but if you want them to be added to your school, so you want to do that through an admin.
Okay. Next question is, can they be added to another class, or can they create, since they are special ed teachers, how would they be, can they be added to another class, or can they create their own class?
The best thing to do there is once they have an account, they'll go to their roster and just add their students to their roster. So they'll see there's a button that says add student. They start typing in the student's name. It'll pop up in a drop down. Just click on that student. And students only have one account. And then any teacher that works with that student has that student on their roster. So if they have their students on their roster, they'll be able to see their student data from all of their different classes and also be able to assign things like that.
What if they are not rostered, like they're just support staff?
That's
but
fine.
Yeah, you can add
Yep.
them?
As long
Okay,
as they
good.
have a teacher account, that's totally fine. They can add it manually because the students will already be in the system from Clever. It's okay if they're not on their roster through Clever, they can add them to it.
Okay. Ms. Flores, did you have a question? What is the title of the session?
This session is Foundations 1.
It's on the screen. Okay. Thank you so much. Also, do you happen to know the House bill for 7th grade? Because we're currently using iStation,
Okay.
and the teachers really like IXL. Do you know if it's approved? I don't remember the exact number of the House bill.
I am not sure, but Amy would definitely have that information because she has a lot more information for your specific school. So that would be a great question to email to Amy and she can get back with you on that.
Okay, thank you so much.
Absolutely. I hope y'all have a wonderful rest of your day.
You too, bye-bye.
Bye. Any additional questions from anyone else before we close out? Okay, it looks like that's all the questions. I hope everybody has a lovely rest of your day. Bye, everyone.